Ratings agency Moody's says South Africa is likely to absorb extra financial support for the struggling power utility Eskom with new revenue and expenditure measures in the next mid-year budget review, with departmental budget cuts an option. In an event, Moody's sees the government's room to maneuver as extremely constrained. Eskom, which supplies more than 90% of the power in Africa's most industrialized economy, is deep in crisis as its sales decline while debt servicing costs soar and is dependent on government bailouts. In the meantime, South Africa's rand firmed early on Friday, backing a downtrend among its emerging market peers as concerns about South Africa's budget eased slightly. Well, let's bring in Itumeleng Mafisa, our South African business correspondent, to wrap up the market week for us. Hello, Itumeleng. Thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon.
Okay, now the finance minister is gearing up to present midterm budget that will be in October amid Moody's, and Moody's has welcomed the National Treasury's promise to cut costs. We saw the rand react positively to this in early trade. It's almost time now for market close. Is the rand still holding up to that gain? And what's the position of the equities market?
Well, the rand is stable, but as some analysts had predicted that the rand would stabilize. I mean, obviously, we saw the rand going up to, amounts of around 15 rand 46 cents. This had been the most devalued the rand had been in around 11 months. But as far as the equities markets are concerned, equities markets are taking a knock all over the world. What was interesting, though, in the equities market was Shoprite, which suffered losses all over the continent. Of course, this was interesting because it's quite a big retail giant on the continent. And we should also look at Exaro, who made the business news this week with their dividends and the results of their dividends thereof. As far as the rand is concerned, we're happy with the stability of the rand. And of course, inflation remains at just over 4%, with some analysts actually predicting an interest rate cut again next month. But of course, analysts differ on this point.
All right, now, President Ramaphosa had a question and answer session with the Parliament yesterday. What was his key points that may possibly spur investors' confidence in the coming week?
Speaking of investor confidence, which is quite low, we saw the president obviously in Parliament talking about many issues, and he has a plan. He's got a plan to bolster the economy and to start new projects. What we saw the president doing when he first came in was he announced a business summit, which was supposed to create jobs, a job summit, which was supposed to create jobs and empower young people. Now, what we saw him doing in Parliament was that he announced a few changes in his the way that his government would function, such as easy trade between countries in Africa with South Africa, relaxation of visa rules which would allow travel. So he's looking at boosting tourism between the different countries in Africa with South Africa. We saw that he also announced that there's going to be an investment gathering at the end of the year in South Africa, where he will preside over that meeting to boost confidence of investors. And he is investing in agriculture as well, and some money in township and rural economies.
All right, in all of these development this week, and of course you did mention the inflation data that came out this week, what is the outlook? What is the outlook for next week? What should we expect?
Well, next week, the big thing on the markets next week is we expect to see how Massmart and Murray and Roberts are going to do. Of course, looking at how they will fare. This has been an interesting topic for most stock traders, especially because the markets are taking a knock all over the place. The issue as well with Eskom has been another thing to look out for, with the government expected to announce 3 divisions of Eskom. Obviously, we know that the power utility is going to be broken down into 3. So this is said to be a move that will obviously, inspire confidence from investors that the country can handle the power utility without selling it or privatizing it.
All right, Itumeleng, we'll keep an eye on that and see what happens. Thank you for your time and enjoy the rest of the weekend.
Thank you.
And the U.S. Export-Import Bank Board intends to vote on a $5 billion direct loan for the development of a liquefied natural gas project in Mozambique, the bank's biggest export financing deal in years. The government export lender said it has notified the U.S. Congress of the transaction, which will be ready for a final board vote in 35 days. If approved, the transaction would support U.S. exports of goods and services for the engineering, procurement, and construction of the onshore LNG plant and related facilities on the Afungi Peninsula in northern Mozambique. Exim said over the 5-year construction period, the financing could support 16,400 American jobs among suppliers in Texas, Pennsylvania, Georgia, New York, Tennessee, Florida, and the District of Columbia. And in Sierra Leone, Kiva, And in Sierra Leone, Kiva, a San Francisco-based tech charity, is using blockchain to create an online ID database, allowing people who struggle to get loans to prove their credit history. Kiva officially launched the system in Freetown, Sierra Leone's capital, on Wednesday, August 21. Let's watch this.
In this country, when they receive their Sierra Leonean teacher Nancy Bamoy lost her identity card and could no longer apply for a loan, as banks could not look up her credit history. She is not alone here and in the West African country. More than 3/4 of Sierra Leone's population lies outside the formal banking sector, according to the data from the central bank. Informal institutions like community banks and microfinance lenders are more common, but they rarely share credit information and often charge extortionate interest rates. Bamoy says the community bank she approached to help her start a new educational business refused to lend her money because she could not open a bank account without her identity card.
We know say problems that they come to you every day. You know, you forget who say you go take money where you get problem immediately. And when you save money, you go able for solve your problem. If you're not able for save, you're not able for solve your problems.
The platform will enable lenders to look up citizens' credit histories using fingerprints and other biometric data that was collected a few years ago by Sierra Leone's government to print voter ID cards. Each prospective borrower will be assigned a digital wallet with transactions recorded in blockchain to keep user information secure and prevent tampering with the ledger.
First, the majority of the population in Sierra Leone, about 80%, is currently excluded from the formal financial sector. Some of the barrier to that access is related to the ability to open a bank account, right? So the KYC process, and be able to provide an identity that's verifiable to a bank or MFI partner. By using the National Digital Identity Program, we're effectively providing a digital identity to every adult in Sierra Leone that they can use as part of a client onboarding process when opening a new bank account.
President Julius Maada Bio says it's a visionary step that will benefit small enterprises to thrive.
With this launch today, we have radically changed Sierra Leone's financial inclusion landscape and made it possible to access and deliver economic and other opportunities to every Sierra Leonean.
The government says it aims to have the system in use by all banks and microfinance institutions in the country by the end of this year.
And that's a wrap on the program for today and, of course, for the week. Thank you for watching. I'm Chimeze Obi Iwawu.